Denny Hamlin tames the monster and picks up his 4th win of the season.
You put in work and you see results from it. So that's what motivates me every day.
The NASCAR Cup Series has a new points leader. There's a tie for the $1 million in-season tournament in NASCAR, and 23XI and Front Row Motorsports sail into uncharted waters. These are our top stories on this edition of Fast Talk.
Fast Talk is presented by Toyota. For the latest Toyota Gazoo racing information, visit tgrna.com. And by Sunoco. From NASCAR to your car, Sunoco Fuel helps your car reach peak performance. Now, here's the host of Fast Talk, Doug Rice.
Welcome to the show. Doug Rice, joined by Alexis Erickson and Kyle Petty, as we'll look back over our shoulder a little bit at the race at Dover, where Denny Hamlin goes out. That's back-to-back wins at Dover. That's 4 wins on the season. That's the most by anybody. And Denny Hamlin making some noise here as we get near the end of the regular season. We'll also talk about the new regular season points leader and the in-season tournament, which has caught a lot of folks' imagination. And Alexis, let's first talk about Denny Hamlin, the guy that won, that staved off Chase Briscoe in the second overtime run at the end. And here we're talking about 44-year-old Denny Hamlin being the leader in the clubhouse as far as wins are concerned.
Yeah. I mean, it's quite remarkable, I think, what he's been able to do this season. You know, it wasn't that long ago on this show we were talking about, can Denny Hamlin get to 60 wins? And I said, which is his own personal goal. And I said, I don't know. I'm not sure that he can do it because, historically, you get to this age, you start slowing down. Well, Denny must have heard me say that because he's taken it as his own personal quest to prove me wrong, because here he goes out again, gets another win this weekend at Dover. 4 on the season, the most, as you said, Doug, of anybody else this year. And I just don't really see any, kind of stopping him in sight. He's got, so much knowledge about how these cars run and what they can do. And he pairs that, with his innate ability to drive race cars. And he's just extremely good. He's extremely good.
Kyle, you have a theory?
Yeah. Listen, I have multiple theories on everything. You know that. I'm a conspiracy theorist, but I'm going to say this about Denny too, and you're right. He is an extremely intelligent driver. There's probably not a situation on the racetrack that he's not been in at some point in time in his career, and I think he uses that to his advantage. I think he definitely used that to his advantage against Chase Briscoe yesterday. Chase Briscoe had maybe an equal car with better tires and got beat. So then that comes back to driver. And Chase just learned a lesson yesterday. And he should learn a lesson. You learn from getting beat a lot of times. That's what you should do. But, I look at Denny and I think, and talking about the 60, and I've thought about this all year long. He needs to get to 60 this year. And I say that, because we saw Kevin win 9 races one year and then just drop off the face of the earth. Kevin Harvick. We've seen these guys go out in a flash, in a blaze. It's just like a shooting star. We see it for the last time, and then we're not going to see it anymore. So I think this 4th win is a big win to get to 58. It is a big win to get there, to get within sight of it. But I don't believe he's got 10 or 12 races left in him to win races. But if he can get there this year, it'll be a big deal.
But he could have 2, and that'd get him to the magic number of 60. Let's go ahead and hear from Denny.
This is one of the more physical demanding racetracks that we go to anyway. It's certainly in the top 3, just simply because of the G-forces that it has. You don't have long straightaways to take breaks. Typically, drivers like to relax their body, or you should relax your body on the straightaways to then, not fatigue all your muscles during the course of a 3.5-hour race. So with it being hotter, it's just you're going to be more dehydrated. You're going to have to take in more fluids. You're going to have sweat dripping in your eyes. It was one of the hotter races that we've had.
I think it's interesting, too, because he doesn't wear a cool suit.
No.
Right? He's one of the only guys. And I mentioned to my husband yesterday as we were watching the race, and you might have some insight on this, Kyle. They talked about Busher, his cool suit broke. It seems like every single week we hear of 1 or 2 drivers who has a cool suit that fails, which is Denny Hamlin's whole point of why he doesn't wear them, because they fail so much. Number one, why? Do you have any idea why they fail so much? And number two, just how hot is it in that car when you don't have a mechanism to kind of cool you off?
So I'm gonna say two things here. One thing is, on days like yesterday, as hot as they said it was up there with the humidity, I feel as bad for the guys standing on pit road. I feel as bad for the pit reporters, for everybody that's outside, because they not only fight the heat, they fight the humidity. Inside the race car, it's not humid. There's not humid air. You're inside the oven. All the humidity has been baked out inside that race car. So if it's 90 inside, it's probably 130 or 40 inside the car. It is extremely hot. And these cars, more so than even the cars that we drove, even though we didn't have the insulation and the pad and all that, we didn't have the aero package that kept all the air out of the inside of the car. So you did have that blowing. The thing with the cool suit is this, is more than anything else. And I learned this a long time ago. When I first started racing at Talladega, and it was hot, I was 18 years old, and the race was over with, and I'm laying on concrete like an old dog. We'll find a cool place of concrete. You know, that's the coolest place in the world for an old dog. And I'm laying there, and Pearson comes by and kicks me in the ribs, and he's got a beer in one hand and a cigarette in the other. And he says, you're going to have to get a lot tougher if you're going to race with us. And my point is, that's mental toughness. Denny is mentally tough, because what happens when your cool suit breaks is it mentally breaks you. It doesn't physically break you. You had depended on that to keep you cool. You were counting on that. And then all of a sudden, you don't have that crutch anymore. You're beat. You are beat. You might finish and you might have a decent run, but you're not going to be at the top of your game. So I think that's one thing that Denny has to his advantage too. He doesn't have that crutch.
Well, I've always said this, that I feel like Denny is trying to pray over too many subjects, but he's getting it done. Here we are, 22 races in. He's got 4 wins.
Yep.
He's got a boatload of playoff points, so he's in really good shape there. He has 24 playoff points. That's the most of any driver heading into the playoffs. That's not too shabby. He's embroiled in a lawsuit with NASCAR. The team that he owns had his charter pull this past week.
Yep.
He became a new dad like 3 weeks ago, and he does a podcast every Monday after the race.
Yeah.
Alexis, he's got a lot of plates spinning, but I got to give him credit. He's not breaking the plates, and he keeps going to the bank.
There's probably a few other plates that we don't even know about, of all the things that you just mentioned. But yeah, I mean, he stays after it. I mean, I talk about how I don't think there's enough hours in the day for all the things I have to do. I can't imagine how he's able to do all the things that he needs to get done. But I think it's, one singular focus. And that focus is, how can I be the best? Whether it's how can I be the best team owner? How can I be the best driver? All of those things. And he gets really motivated by that. You talked about all the things that he has and why we say he's such a great driver and clearly future Hall of Famer. But there's that one thing that he doesn't have, that he's tired of people telling him that he doesn't have. And that's a championship. And I think that fuels him to continue to be the best that he can be.
Who knows?
Yeah.
Maybe this is that year. I keep saying that, but maybe, just maybe, this is that year. But it's a special time for him with everything that he has got pushing and got going on. Denny Hamlin's continuing to rise to the top. The rest of the top 5 were Chase Briscoe. Nice battle at the end. Alex Bowman, Kyle Larson, Ty Gibbs. More about him a little bit later on. Chase Elliott yesterday finished 6th. Chase Elliott dominated the race. He led 238 laps, but one miscue on pit road got them out of the lead, and they never could get back into that dominating position.
Yeah, they just never found their way back to the front. They got close, but they couldn't. They never found their way back to the point. Let me say that. They got up in the top 4 or 5. But it's amazing, and we talk about it every week. Y'all talk about it on here. And I know numerous times when I've been on the show, we talk about it. You almost have to have perfect days to be able to run in the top 5. You know what I mean? And to be able to win, it has to be a perfect day. You've got to put your car in the right place every time. And when something happens, it's tough to overcome. Christopher Bell didn't overcome that initial spin. No matter how hard he tried, he couldn't come back from that initial spin. Chase Elliott never came back from this. So many times we see guys take themselves out of a race early. You think, so when you see a guy who has trouble early and then comes back and wins, you think that's an anomaly. That's something spectacular. But yeah, Chase ran up front. I think by the halfway point, he had led more laps in this race than he had led all year long.
Yep.
And it looked like they were back where they needed to be. And then and the pit stop was not a bad pit stop. The jack goes under and it just spit it out. It was just, I mean, it could have been a quarter inch more. It would have stayed in. A quarter inch out, it's out. That's just the way it is. It's just a small mistake that takes you out.
Well, I was just going to say there were so many fans, post race that were upset with Alan Gustafson and the call that he made. And, okay, sure, potentially it's a team sport. Everybody's got to hold their own weight. But when you think about the all-around day that he had yesterday, if I'm a Chase Elliott fan, I'm smiling today because this is the first time. I mean, he had that win at Atlanta, and that was great. Don't get me wrong. But this is the first time in a really long time that I can remember seeing Chase Elliott and saying, he could possibly dominate and take this thing away. And, if it wasn't for that one misstep, then that's probably what would have happened. It's the first time this year he's won a stage.
Yeah. I do want to touch on one more thing. We're going to talk about Chase Elliott taking over the points lead in a little bit. Denny Hamlin gets out of the car, and I'm watching this. I'm listening on PRN, then I turned up the sound on TNT, and he goes up to gets the flag, and then Marty Snyder walks out to interview him, and Marty says, "Wow, they're not booing you today." What the heck happened here? When did that become a thing to not boo Denny Hamlin?
That's a good question.
If it happened, I missed it.
I mean,
because
he said it, and I'm listening, and I'm going like, well, he's kind of right. Because usually Denny Hamlin does anything, and it's just this.
Yeah, that's a great point.
This wave of boos.
Yeah, that's a great point. I don't know. I think. Listen, I honestly do believe, and I've said this is when Denny came in and he was young, a lot of people pulled for him. He's that guy that that Gibbs found and took him out of late model racing and put him in Leffler's car when it was a FedEx, and boom, he's Rookie of the Year. He's winning the Daytona 500. He's doing stuff, and then he goes through that stage where he's just Denny. He owns a nightclub and he's out and he's doing this and people just kind of poo-poo him. It's like he's not serious. And then he comes back and you boo him. But I think a lot of that's got to do in recent years or in this year as we move forward is he's 44. We keep talking about how old he is. We keep talking about 60. I think people are pulling for him to get to 60. I think there's some of these guys have turned the corner on him, kind of like they have Kyle Busch and kind of like they have these older guys. But that's my only explanation.
I think it always happens. Yep. I can't really name one instance where a driver retired and he had more haters than not.
Yeah. Now, if you want to get loved, you got to outlive them.
Yeah,
that's exactly right.
If you do that, you're probably going to catch some love. Let's give you our Toyota Performance Report. Not a bad day for Toyota as Denny Hamlin wins in his progressive Toyota. Chase Briscoe was second. Ty Gibbs was fifth. Ty Gibbs is hanging out there. Bubba Wallace rallied late and got 7th. Tyler Reddick was 12th. Christopher Bell, rough day for him, 18th. 21st was John Hunter Nemechek. Riley Herbst, 24th. And 27th to Eric Jones. That is our Toyota Performance Report, brought to you by Toyota. For the latest Toyota Gazoo racing information, where are we supposed to visit, Alexis?
TGRNA.com.
Don't forget the .com. We'll be right back.
Here's what you missed last week on Toyota Gazoo Racing. Bubba was totally as he around the pack, managing to across the finish line to claim me in victory lane. Now you're up to speed. You in? Follow the action at TGRNA.com. Toyota, let's go places. NASCAR is a registered trademark of the National Association for Stock Car Auto Racing, LLC.
We work hard to keep our cars looking great on the outside, but engine components need our attention too. That's where you can trust Z-Max Micro Lubricant to disperse carbon buildup in your engine and fuel system to keep your car or truck running at its peak. By soaking into the metal of your engine, Z-Max Micro Lubricant improves performance, extends engine life, and reduces emissions. Trust the many customers who've said, "Thanks for saving my engine." Find out more at zmax.com or follow us on Facebook and Twitter.
I'm Denny Hamlin, and you're listening to Fast Talk on the Performance Racing Network.
Whether it's skating around the racetrack on a set of rollerblades or turning laps in a Legends car, join JC Fickenshire on JC's Garage.
All it takes is one win, and that one win can completely clear the driver's mind. I could even see it happening if Todd Gilliland wins a race or Noah Gragson wins a race, Zane Smith wins a race. These guys are guys who are just searching for one win, one chance.
JC's Garage, wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts.
Hey, it's Charlie and Debbie, along with NASCAR legend Kyle Petty, inviting you to join us for Kyle Petty's Back Then Again Country Countdown.
Each week, we'll put it in reverse and take a trip down memory lane, looking back at that week's top 20 country songs from years past.
We'll dive into what made those songs and artists move the needle, what pop culture trends made those years unique.
And you'll get to hear me tell stories only I can tell.
So don't miss Kyle Petty's Back Then Again Country Countdown right here each week.
Slightly in the lead on the inside. Hamlin fighting back on the outside. Hamlin's got the lead. White flag is out. Next flag will end it.
Denny Hamlin is out in front of Briscoe. Briscoe trails by a half a car length. Hamlin now loads it up off of turn number 2. Here comes Denny Hamlin, driver number 11, down the backstretch and into turn number 3, perhaps headed for home.
In double overtime, Denny Hamlin will go back-to-back at Dover Motor Speedway as he wins the Auto Trader Echo Park Automotive 400, his 4th victory in 2025.
All right, there was the call yesterday on the Performance Racing Network. You heard Mark Garrow, Pat Patterson, and Brad Gilley describing Denny Hamlin's win, his 4th win of the season, back-to-back wins at the Monster Miles we talked about. And in all of that, we spoke about Chase Elliott dominating the race, leading the lion's share of laps, 238 laps. But Kyle, much more importantly, I guess at the end of the day, Chase Elliott is the new regular season points leader as he has 16 points over the guy that seemingly has led it all year long in William Byron.
So you're telling me points matter?
Apparently
it's not all about the win. Yeah, and listen, I don't want to hear this stat anymore. So I'm just going to go ahead and throw this out and say I'm tired of it. I don't give a rat's rear end that he's the only guy that's finished in the top 20 every race this year. Okay? Top 20.
Why did I know Alexis was setting on that?
Top 20 is not a stat, dude. It's not a stat.
Yeah.
It's top 10, top 5. That's what we wins. That's what we go after. Okay, so I don't want to hear that one anymore. But what that does tell me is he's just been consistent.
Mm-hmm.
He's been incredibly consistent. Mostly mediocre consistent, which has led him to lead the championship. And that's all you can say about it is he has run in the top 5 or top 10, top 5, and run in the top 15 or so, but he's just there. He's vanilla. He's right there in the middle. He's not done anything special to lead the points. When you look at Denny with 4 wins, when you look at Shane with 3 wins, when you look at these other guys who have led races and gone out in a blaze of glory and all this stuff, Chase is just that guy. It's the tortoise and the hare. He's knocking on the door. Right now, he's the tortoise, okay? And that's the way I look at it. And it's big for the sport. It's big for the fans because they love it and they care about it. But, I'm just a guy who likes to watch a series where the best team wins and the best team is the champion and the guy who runs up front is the guy who wins and stuff. I don't want to see the guy that just consistently runs 4th be my guy. He's not my guy. So I'm sorry. That's my critique on him leading the points at this time. He's been consistent. I'll give you that. But my mailman's consistent too. I get my mail between 10:30 and 12 every day. It comes by my house.
Look, the thing about the regular season points is that there is a pretty big prize at the end of that rainbow. If you win, the regular season champions is 15 playoff
15
points, which could potentially carry you from one round to another round. I'm looking at the point standings now, and you've got Chase Elliott, William Byron, who's 16 points behind him. Kyle Larson is 38 points to the leader, and Denny Hamlin is 39 points to the leader. So I'd say with 5 races to go, it's probably just a 2-person race between Chase and William. But you've got Kyle Larson and Denny Hamlin in there too. You're pretty biggest heavy hitters in the garage right now, all vying to try to get those 15 playoff points. That, in myself, I feel like that's compelling just as well as the actual playoff bubble cutoff line and the top 16 drivers.
Kyle, I do echo your sentiment about consistency. Consistency matters in brownie mix.
That's a great point.
It's consistent. You do the egg whites and put them in there and look at this, and it's all the same.
Does it have stiff peaks? Yeah, that kind of thing.
I'm with you.
Do you like nuts in your brownies?
No. Negative.
Kyle?
Yeah,
chocolate
I do.
chip. Give me a big old chocolate
I like
chip
some
in
nuts.
there.
I don't like chocolate chips. I don't know why. I love chocolate. I hate chocolate chips. I don't know what to do.
Chocolate chips in a brownie? Then that's just more chocolate, isn't it?
Yeah.
And? Your point?
What's your point? I realized this morning that, and this is going to be crazy, and this is totally off the subject, that Kyle Busch went from driving the M&M's car to driving the M&M's car with Morgan and Morgan. I did not realize
Morgan.
I did not realize he stayed the course.
Well,
there you go.
I didn't realize
that has
either.
nothing to do with chocolate brownies or being consistent,
The
because
more
he's
you
not
know.
consistent.
But sometimes he drives the Rebel Bourbon car.
That's true.
And
I'm with you on
chocolate with a little dash of chocolate.
I'm with you with
glass
that.
of bourbon on the side.
I'm with you
I'm
with
just
that one.
saying.
I'm
Just saying.
You might like that, Alexa.
Oh, well.
You've been a little under the weather
Yeah,
lately.
that'll help you
help
cough.
the old,
That'll
yeah,
help you
exactly.
All right. Meanwhile, back in playoff land, let's look at the playoff grid down at the bubble area. Bubba Wallace went in at +3 yesterday. Why do I feel like I'm doing a stock report?
Yeah.
Bubba Wallace is still 16th, but he is +16 to Ryan Preece, 39 to Kyle Busch, 52 to Ty Gibbs. And here's the thing for Bubba, though. If you get another winner that's not already won,
Oh, yeah.
I don't know that he makes the playoffs.
Yeah, if I'm 16th, I'm thinking I got to move up or I got to win a race because my position is in jeopardy. And I think I've been calling Bubba Wallace the Clint Eastwood or the Clint Boyer of 2020s. Because that's Clint was constantly on the bubble, no matter how the season started. He was the guy we talked about all the time. And it seems like the last 3 or 4 years, we just talk about Bubba constantly because he can't break out of that. He gets up 50 and then loses everything and goes back to 20 ahead, but he's right in that place.
He had a good race yesterday in the sense that they came on late. He was floundering around back around 15th, and with a couple of restarts, Bubba got some spots, wound up finishing 7th, so gave himself a little cushion. But Alexis, if I'm Bubba, I don't sleep well. We get an oddball winner, let's say up at, I don't know, Watkins Glen, and we've got to go back to Daytona. I mean, Harrison Burton won there last year.
Yeah.
So there's always an opportunity for somebody to come and knock you out of that spot.
And I'm looking at the schedule right here because I couldn't remember exactly the races we have. We have 5 races left. We go to Indy this weekend, then Iowa, Watkins Glen, Richmond, and Daytona. And I don't know if any of those races really jump out at me as being like, oh, Bubba Wallace has a really great shot at winning that race. So, yeah, if I were them, I would be quite worried that somebody else is going to get in that winner's circle and knock me out of the top 16.
And we've seen it happen this year. All you got to do is go back to Las Vegas.
Yeah.
Josh Berry and the Wood brothers have a great day. They go out. Other people slipped, and they posted that W early. And they need to be glad they did because they're 21st in points.
I know. Yeah, unfortunately, that team has had a rough summer season, as you would say, a rough summer stretch.
But they've known pretty much all along, Kyle, that they're headed to the playoffs.
That's right. You're in the playoffs. There, it's like my dad always used to say, you start the year, if you come out of Daytona with a win, it doesn't make any difference what you do the rest of the year. You are the Daytona 500 champion. You have made your year. And that's kind of what the points, the way this thing works. When you make the playoffs, that's okay. From a sponsor perspective, from the sport perspective, you are in the playoffs. You're moving forward. You've done something that all these other teams haven't. So you've basically made your year in a lot of ways.
Next, we'll talk about the tie in the in-season tournament.
From fueling NASCAR champions on the track for over 20 years to innovating 94 octane, the highest octane on the market. Performance is what Sunoco does. All Sunoco fuel at the pump meets the same top-tier standards as the fuel used in NASCAR. From the track to your tank, you can trust Sunoco to help your vehicle perform at its peak.
The NASCAR playoffs return to New Hampshire Motor Speedway September 19th to 21st. This year, it's going to be wicked faster and wicked funner. 3 days of racing, camping, concerts, and fireworks. Grab your friends or make some new ones. And when the checkered flag drops, one driver takes home the giant lobster. Don't miss New England's biggest race weekend, the NASCAR Playoffs, September 19th through 21st. Get your tickets now at nhms.com.
I'm Alex Bowman, and you're listening to Fast Talk on the Performance Racing Network.
NASCAR heads to Dover.
Start your engine!
It's the Auto Trader Echo Park Automotive 400.
The number 6, Keselowski almost loses it, hangs on to the race car, guys.
Daniel Suarez has smashed the wall in the inside retaining barrier here at Dover.
Chastain stays right at the bottom of the racetrack. William Byron rockets to the outside, takes his spot away.
The Auto Trader Echo Park Automotive 400 from Dover. Sunday, July 20th at 1 Eastern on PRN.
Start your engine!
The Bet Rivers 200.
He'll go right at his tire track. Sieg now with another last-ditch effort to win the race.
They'll race side by side through turn number 1. He's dicing right now with Parker Kligerman as they battle for position.
Mayer's going to move them all the way to driver's left as they stack up and crash at the rear of the field. It's a multiple car accident.
Riley Herbst to the inside, door-to-door with Sam Mayer.
The Bet Rivers 200. Saturday, July 19th at 4 Eastern on PRN.
Fast Talk, Doug Rice along with Kyle Petty and Alexis Erickson. Thank you for joining us. The in-season tournament will wind up this coming weekend at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway in the 22nd, or no, it's further down the road than that, of the Brickyard 400. So they're going to wrap that up. Dramatic place to finish it off. And, of course, by now you probably know, involves Ty Gibbs from Joe Gibbs Racing and Ty Dillon from Colleague Racing. I think an unlikely final pair. Kyle Petty, the two ties square off against each other, and there's just overwhelming sentiment behind underdog Ty Dillon. I mean, will it strike midnight? Will he coach turn back into a pumpkin, or does he get to wear the glass slipper?
Yeah, that's the question. That's good, though. Hey, listen, I would have had two guys named Kyle, two guys named Chase, two guys named anything but Ty in this last thing. You know what I mean? That would have been the last name choice that I would have chosen to be in this thing. But, yeah, and we were just speaking about it. You've got, the Gibbs organization against Colleague, a mid-range team. You've got a driver with potential and on the rise in Ty Dillon with a driver who's past his potential and really is just a journeyman driver now and Ty Dillon. So there's things, and you brought up the grandfather thing, but it's two really separate groups, and I think that Ty Dillon and Colleague are more relatable to the average fan, and those people are pulling for him. That guy that works in a mill, that guy that rides a tractor and plows the field, that truck driver, he's pulling because that's my lottery winner right there. This is my guy. This is my next door neighbor. He won the lottery, man. He did it. And I think a lot of it is that sentiment that they want to see the underdog in this situation really knock out the big guy.
Look, Ty's going to win. I'm here to say Ty is going to win.
Ty goes to the runner, by the way.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, there you go.
There you go. Sure. I agree 1,000% with everything that Kyle said. It's been a kind of an interesting thing to watch because, we were like, there was this big crash that happened at Atlanta, and that's how Ty moved on originally and beat Denny Hamlin. And then every week it kind of just snowballed. Yeah. And even at Dover, it was like, not going to happen, not going to happen, not going to happen. Yeah. Oh, he won again. Yeah. So, he's had luck on his side, and who am I to say that that's going to run out this weekend? Who knows?
Here's the beautiful part about this tournament thing. Ty Dillon won the chance to win $1 million by finishing 20th.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Now, this is okay. This works in this scenario. Okay. And it does, because we're going head to head.
Right.
You're picking two drivers out of the field. This is my argument against the championship race, because someday we're going to have a champion that finishes 20th at Phoenix. Someday, or whatever race that may be. Someday we're going to have, they're not all four going to run up front. They're not all going to contend. And that's a bad look. That's a bad look for the sport. And we've been very fortunate and very blessed that the Room of Doom lets them by with a bunch of stuff so they can all run up front.
The Room of Doom.
They get by with a bunch of stuff so they can all run up front. So it makes a good show.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But at the same time, I want you to think about that. If they all pile up going in turn one and the final race of the season, our 37th place winner is our finisher is our champion.
I can see that happening when the championship race goes back to Homestead, Alexis. More so than at Phoenix.
Yeah,
more
potentially.
So. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. You hear the cliches, the cream always rises to the top and all of those things. But I could see a scenario where that does happen. I think it would probably be very rare.
Oh, it's rare.
And
rare.
And few and far between. But I could certainly see. And then, all the keyboard warriors out there would just be click clacking about how a 37th finisher
and
won the
honestly, that's just
but,
a glitch in that. You know what I mean? It's not that's going to happen all the time. It's like you say, but that's the biggest fear of the playoff of that system of because it is honestly the same thing as having all four drivers walk up to this table and draw a high card.
Sure.
You know what I mean? It is that's who your winner is, high card.
And something like that will eventually happen.
Yeah.
Here, because gone to enough races that, okay, over here's a concrete pillar. The race cars can't get to it. And guess what?
Yep.
Somebody spins and they go through the eye of a needle and they hit it at every time. So eventually I can see at one of these championship races, you have some attrition, you have some other things, and the person that realistically finishes 11th is your champion.
But what's the alternative? Consistency, right?
I don't know.
Consistency
Listen,
that you talked about
over
the last earlier.
I don't know. Listen, I want to. I'm going home when I get done. We had the big fiasco at the Coldplay concert, and everybody's making T-shirts. I'm going to go home and I'm doing the Dumb and Dumber guys on the scooter. Remember when they're on the scooter, and I'm going to have Ty Dillon look at Ty Gibbs. These two guys are going to be on the scooter, and Ty Dillon says, "So you think there's a chance?"
So you think there's a chance?
Think there's a chance?
So looping back around to this in-season tournament, now that we've had a chance to digest it, it's going to end at Indy with either Ty Gibbs or Ty Dillon getting $1 million. Thoughts on it? Alexis, go first.
Yeah, I mean, look, it has added, in my opinion, a little bit of a storyline in summer months where we would maybe not have had this other thing to talk about. I think it's kind of cool if someone like Ty Dillon wins $1 million. It's not probably very often he gets the opportunity to do that. He's not racing in the all-star race, realistically with an opportunity to win $1 million every year. So I think that's cool. I think it could have potentially been scheduled differently. I certainly voiced my opinion on having the first race be at Atlanta and having, half of the field get wiped out and not really even having a chance to compete. I would rather see something where for sure you're going up head to head on skill alone and not just luck. Like I said, Ty Dillon has been very, very lucky, and you have to have luck on your side. But I'd also love for there to be like a little bit of skill involved also. So I think it would be really cool if either one of them won $1 million, but it's still just kind of like this side thing,
Yeah, but I have to be honest. It's kept me watching the TNT races because the broadcasts have not kept me watching the TNT races. Okay, I'm just going to be honest about that. I've not enjoyed them at all, but I have enjoyed following this part of it.
I like the tournament. Bring it back. Do it again. And I'm going to disagree with Alexis. I like the luck part. I like the total crapshoot, pull the rabbit out of the hat part.
And that's great. I mean,
because that's how Ty Dillon got there.
Yeah,
Yes.
Oh, for sure.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. But when and maybe, what do they say? Comparison is the thief of joy or whatever. Maybe I shouldn't be comparing it to like the NCAA tournament where if you have an upset, whatever seed beat a number one seed, it's because they played better that day. That's not what this is. That's not what this is.
And I think the world wants Ty Dillon to win this.
Yes.
I'm not going to back off from that because this is his moment. Ty Gibbs is going to have moments. Ty Gibbs is going to have seasons
Great point.
where he runs for a championship, and we're talking about him winning 6 races in a year. That's going to eventually happen. Ty Dillon's never going to have that.
I think Ty Dillon, if he wins this, will be introduced as, the NASCAR in-season challenge winner, Ty Dillon, because unfortunately for him, that's
You mean like
kind of all he's got.
You mean like Daniel Hemrick is still introduced as the Legends $1 Million winner?
Right. Well,
same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, same thing.
Well,
Daniel Hemrick is the oddest cat in the world as far as it comes to winning races.
Yes.
He won the $1 Million Legends race here at Charlotte Motor Speedway, 10 years ago?
And then he won the championship race.
Yes.
By winning one race.
One race.
He ever won.
Fascinating. And he's a great guy. He is a great guy.
He only led one lap in that race.
That's all you got to do.
See, that's your thing that you were getting back to earlier.
Yeah. No, exactly.
I mean, it's
it. It's these freak incidents
that's
where they
that's
come.
the wheel of destiny coming around. All right, we got a couple other items to chat about. We've got teams that don't have charters and some other juicy tidbits to tackle.
This is Kyle Petty for Echo Park Automotive, and I'm here to tell you why you should shop Echo Park before you buy a car, truck, or SUV. Over half of inventory at Echo Park is priced below $25,000, and car for car, truck for truck. Echo Park Automotive's pricing is $3,000 less than the competition. Maybe that's why Echo Park has over 95,000 five-star reviews. Echo Park Automotive is built to make sure you drive away happy. It's even in their name, Echo Park Automotive. Every car, happy owner. The official used car dealer of Speedway Motorsports.
Make your plans now to stay at the South Point Hotel Casino and Spa when NASCAR returns to Las Vegas. They have great race ticket and room packages for you to choose from. The South Point also features a wide variety of excellent dining options at 11 different restaurants. Or you can enjoy the 16-screen movie complex and visit the 64-lane bowling center. Visit southpointcasino.com and make your reservations today. Stay where the racers stay at the South Point Hotel Casino and Spa.
I'm Bubba Wallace, and you're listening to Fast Talk on the Performance Racing Network.
Start your engine! Reddick goes right to the bottom of the racetrack. Chastain tries to hold on the outside.
Truex on the inside, Byron in the middle, Chastain up high.
Hamlin now beginning to come to the front. He's got the edge now. He'll take the lead away.
Brian Blaney sliding down into the grass. There was a lot of bumping and grinding, and Blaney noses into the infield retaining wall.
Ross Chastain doing a great job. Truex right there, big in his mirror as they race down the backstretch here. Harrison Burton is spinning down the back straightaway. Everybody going to the top side. Here comes Kyle Larson. Larson dives to the bottom of the racetrack. He wants to lead all 4.
Chris Buescher has the
trouble.
advantage and a spin off of turn 4.
Yeah, we've got a ton of cars that are in this one, and Larson is certainly one of those cars.
Trouble coming out of turn 4. Hamlin is sideways. The car spins down on the apron of the racetrack.
Byron takes that brightly painted number 24 to the front. He gets a big shove from Daniel Suarez.
This is PRN.
Let's explore the known for a moment. It was announced recently that NASCAR will not be going back to the second city, the Windy City. Chicago will not have a street race. Kyle Petty, I saw you perk up.
Yes, and I'm glad you brought it up because you are my linguist, and you throw these big words at me and all this stuff. And I read the press release. Did you read the press release? And they called the street race the iconic street race in Chicago. Can it be iconic after 3 years?
No.
I don't think it can either.
No, it cannot.
I think that was a terrible use of the word icon and iconic. And listen, I wish they would go back because I think it had established itself. You were getting people. I hope they don't go to Chicago land or out there. And I'm going to say that. And let me tell you why. Because I think they took the sport to the streets of Chicago, but I don't think the streets of Chicago are going to come to Chicago land. And from a fan perspective, the juxtaposition of those two I use juxtaposition of those two.
I love that.
Of those two races against each other and the fan base. I think it's a totally different fan base almost.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you on the use of iconic. Maybe they could have used like, I don't know, revolutionary or something, because it's the first time that we've done it in stock car racing. So, that would have been apropos. But you're right. I think, unfortunately, you might be disappointed. I think we probably will be going back to Chicagoland. That seems to be the way that the wind is blowing anyway. But isn't that why we left there in the first place? Because we weren't getting...
Because you weren't bringing fans.
Right, because you weren't getting fans to go back there. Now, granted, I think with this car, the racing there could be better than it was.
For sure.
For sure.
I believe that.
But is that enough to put butts in seats? I don't know.
I don't know either. I don't. But I applaud NASCAR for going to Chicago, to the streets of Chicago. And I would like to see them go somewhere else. Whether it's, and you keep hearing San Diego and you hear all this. Come to Randleman. We'll open the doors at Randleman. I know the mayor there. I can get you hooked up. We can run down Academy Street across Deep River Bridge. We've got all the landmarks of Randleman already tagged.
Go right through the King's front yard.
But the point is, you can take that form of racing to a lot of places.
Right.
So let's take it someplace. Let's make that a traveling date and go to different places and see if we can generate, 15,000 new fans in that area, 20,000 new fans. Let's build it a little bit at a time, more like grassroots.
I was ambivalent on the whole Chicago thing until the last race, when it looks like the people turned out and the buzz of the city was like, well, maybe this isn't so bad after all. And now it does feel like, if you can believe everything you read and hear, that it's going back to Chicagoland, and it looks like San Diego's going to snag the street race, which I would assume, and this is a guess, I have no inside intel, that means we do not go back to Mexico City.
Ah.
Yeah, I'm assuming probably.
I mean, races have to come from somewhere.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
You're not wrong. I mean, and I think, too, we've talked about it on the show, and, Kyle, you might be, against this, but I feel like when you go into a market like a San Diego, you almost have to do it because of what Doug said, 2 or 3 years.
Yes, you do.
To be able to get, that response from people.
We say it all the time. When you're selling partnerships and sponsorships on cars, and I'm going to use one of SM's properties. Just change the name from Atlanta Motor Speedway to Echo Park. It's going to be years before people refer to it as Echo Park. I'm sorry. That's just the way it is. Don't expect that the first year. Don't expect it the second year. You get better the third year. You get more buy-in by the fourth. And the fifth and sixth year, it's just like when they named this place Charlotte Motor Speedway, when they called it Lowe's Motor Speed. It took forever. Listen, we had the winner of the Coca-Cola 600 still call it the World 600 after all these years. So it takes buy-in sometimes, and you have to be able to back that up. You can't just go in and target market and say, that's my place, and then drop out. It doesn't work that way.
I do like the trend, though, for NASCAR to move things around.
Yes.
And we've talked about that before. There was a time, it was very popular for the beer brands to put out the schedule.
Yeah.
And you went into your local bar, and there was the schedule, and there were 2 at Darlington, 2 at Pocono, 2 at Michigan. And all you had to do was change the year on the schedule, Alexis, because the race dates and the order of when they fell never changed.
Yeah. I will say I absolutely love it, too. I feel like that's one way to keep things feeling fresh, to keep fans connected to what we're doing. I just wish there was a way we could do it and have the schedule released sooner.
Yeah.
I feel like when you wait, and I know it's because deals are being done and, handshakes are being had and all of these things are happening. When you wait, you kind of do a disservice to those races that are in the beginning of the year that haven't had the leeway to sell the tickets that they need, So it's like, I love the fact that we continue to change the schedule, and we're changing it. And it's not just the same 2 races here and here and here that we had for years. I just wish there was a way that we could do it to where we could get a schedule sooner than what we have been getting it.
That would help, and it would help the race fans, too, because people like to plan out in advance.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And I want to know 6 months ahead of time where things are going to be. They've announced the baseball game in Bristol a year ago.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's great point.
I mean, you've had lead up time,
Yeah.
and the same with the football game there.
Yeah.
And I think disservice your fans by cutting them off and giving them 2 months to decide whether they want to go to an event.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough for an average guy to say, "Oh, I just got to schedule. Well, it's too late. I can't ask off from work. I can't do this. I can't get tickets." Yeah, that's a great point. That's a great point.
I sense this year we're going to know sooner than we have known recently. I have a feeling by the time the playoffs get here, we'll know exactly where everything is going to be next year. Well, we already know Phoenix is going to be giving up the championship race, and that's going to be going down to Homestead, Miami. And you can take certain dates and pencil them in that you know exactly when they're going to be.
Yeah, and there have been some that, are ones that we know for sure, like the Daytona 500 has already been announced. They're already selling tickets for that race, that kind of thing. But, it's these other races that are kind of up in the air that, it would just be nice to have in stone so that not only the tracks could continue to push ticket sales, but fans could plan, save money, do all the things they need to do.
Stick with us. We'll be right back.
From fueling NASCAR champions on the track for over 20 years to innovating 94 octane, the highest octane on the market. Performance is what Sunoco does. All Sunoco fuel at the pump meets the same top-tier standards as the fuel used in NASCAR. From the track to your tank, you can trust Sunoco to help your vehicle perform at its peak.
Whether your engine runs daily or only when you need it, Z-Max Micro Lubricant is the force you need against carbon buildup that can damage your engine. Combustion causes carbon and other harmful deposits to build up in your engine, fuel system, and transmission. And carbon is like sandpaper rubbing against your engine's internal parts. You don't want that. You want Z-Max Micro Lubricant. It soaks into metal and keeps your vehicle running at peak performance. Find out more at zmax.com or visit us on Facebook and Twitter. Protect your engine to the max with Z-Max.
I'm Ryan Blaney, and you're listening to Fast Talk on the Performance Racing Network.
A NASCAR memory with Doug Rice and Kyle Petty.
One of the most iconic moments in the history of the sport. Your dad and David Pearson racing for the win at Daytona 76.
I learned more from my dad in that moment than probably all the years of being his son before that. Ran that race, comes down to the last lap. Pearson passes Petty. Petty passes Pearson. My dad passes him going into turn 3, sweeps up in front of him. They kind of cross over. They get together coming out of turn 4. Even though they're running 180, 90, 200 miles an hour, it's the most slow motion wreck in the history of time. As you watch my dad spin and spin down into the grass, you watch Pearson's car with the front end just caved in come to a stop. And we all leave pit road and run out to the grass. You can see it's myself, it's Barry Dodson, it's Wade Thornburg, it's Dale Inman. We run out and we push the car across the line. We didn't know that if you help the car across the line on the last lap, you're penalized a lap. So if you go back and look at that, my dad finished 1 lap down in the Daytona 500 that year.
It was August 6, 1994, the first ever running of the Brickyard 400. It got off to a roaring success with the beloved Jeff Gordon coming home with his second career win. And the next thing you know, we're racing at the famed Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Kyle, maybe the most singular hyped event I can ever remember in NASCAR was that first race there.
I don't ever remember... And you use the word event because that's what it was.
Right.
They hyped it as an event, and they didn't really hype it as a race. It was like NASCAR's coming to Indy. That was an event for us to go up there. When we went up there and did the tire test, and it was Earnhardt and Davey and Ernie and everybody went up there and tested. That was like there were 30 or 40,000 fans in the stands for a tire test, for a 2-day tire test. So yeah, I don't think there's anything that's come along in the sport. As far as from a track perspective, even going to the streets of Chicago that we just spoke about, going to Mexico City, no event was hyped like that event was. And, having Jeff win that first event, when he goes up there and wins that first event and, in one of his many hometowns, because he's got like multiple,
like Mark Arrow.
Yeah. So in one of his many hometowns, that put it on that solidified its place. That solidified it as this is big. Now, at the same time, I'm going to say this. I was against it from the very beginning, and that shows what side of history I come down on. But because it had no stock car history, it had no NASCAR history. We were walking into someone else's history. We were walking into open wheel history. Just as if they came to Daytona, they walk into Bill France Sr., to Fireball Roberts, to Smokey Unick, to Lee Petty, to that history. So it was a little bit different, and we made a tradition of it. Then they switched off and they run the road course and they broke the tradition. So now it's just Indianapolis to me. We're going to Indianapolis. It's a great place. It's a place for motorsports. The history there, what Penske's done, what all that stuff. But it lost a little bit of that luster when it went to the road course for me, because it went away from what I thought it was intended to do for the sport.
Would you feel comfortable using the word iconic in this instance?
Okay, so here's what I would say. I would say NASCAR races at the iconic Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Not that the NASCAR race is an iconic race. I'm not going to go that way.
Beautiful.
Yes.
That is beautiful.
That almost teared me up, Kyle. That was great. I look back at that first one, and even like Danny Sullivan and A.J. Foyt kind of came out of retirement to go race. And they both made that show.
Yes.
And I remember being up there. I wasn't part of the broadcast, listening to IMS radio, covering A.J. Foyt pit stops when he was already 2 laps down.
Yeah.
But because that was the man.
That's right.
The NASCAR people were like the Visigoths at the gates of Rome. It was like, no, stay away. And the exposure to all that culture there and everything. And I just think back, the guy that kind of broke that barrier was Jeff Gordon.
Yes, he was.
Because he was beloved in Indiana, and he comes out, and then it got the other shot the next year when Dale Earnhardt won it.
That's right. Yeah, then you bookended.
Yeah.
You had the young kid from Indiana, the open wheel superstar, the guy who had cut his teeth on Thursday Night Thunder out at IRP and all that stuff. The hometown boy, again, one of his many hometowns, the hometown boy who does good, and then you have Earnhardt, the establishment, the NASCAR star who comes and wins.
And you were there, right, in 2005 when Tony Stewart won
Yes.
it? Talk about that experience.
That was earth-shaking,
Yeah.
literally,
it was.
because
Yes, it was.
Tony Stewart, he is more Indiana than Jeff Gordon.
Oh, for sure.
Because
For sure.
and he had raced at Indy in the Indy 500 and almost won the thing a couple of times, and he had the support of those people, and that was still big crowds back then. There were a couple of 100,000 people.
Yeah.
There were 300,000 people at the first one. Luckily, that's coming back, but I remember hearing the crowd murmur with about 10 laps to go when they thought Tony Stewart might win this thing.
Yeah.
And the reception he got was just nothing short of miraculous. So it's been the site of some big stock car wins. I'm like you, Kyle. I cried a little bit when they took it and ran the road course there. It was never going to be the greatest stock car race in the world.
No.
But you're racing at supposedly the greatest racetrack in the world, Alexis.
Yeah, and I mean, I think they realized that when for, 3 years or 4 years that they did it in a row, pretty much everybody was like, why are we doing this?
Yeah.
We need to go back to the Oval. And thankfully, they acquiesced, and we're now back at the Oval because that's where we should be, for sure.
Yep. Last year, Kyle Larson won it at on Way. He's won a lot of big races. We'll see. By the way, the Truck Series this year will be at Indianapolis. They're going to be out at IRP, Indianapolis Raceway Park. Kyle, maybe that's I think just leave them there. That's a great racetrack for that series.
Listen, listen. I said it since the Xfinity Series came to the big track. They need to go back to IRP. That was one of the best races on the circuit. Was watching the Busch drivers at the time, now the Xfinity stars, run at IRP. It's just a great little racetrack. It's short track. It's everything you want on a Saturday night show. And they would run it there. And listen, those first years and in the early 90s, we would leave the racetrack at the big track on Saturdays and get a police escort out to IRP to watch the Busch race. And because it was phenomenal to watch those guys, man. It was just a great race. And so I love the trucks there. I love the trucks. They need to be there always.
First year they were there, I got recruited to go out and MC a concert in a park, and they said, we need you to introduce this new country guy. So I introduced Kenny Chesney.
Wow.
No way, man. No way.
He went on and did pretty well, by the way. Could have been the
he did.
intro.
He's
All
okay.
right, let's take a break. We'll be right back.
I'm Rich
No, I
Stenhouse
did.
Jr.,
Never heard
and
of
you're
it. Nobody.
listening to Fast Talk on the Performance Racing Network.
It's hard to believe in this day and age in the United States of America that children are hungry.
Our time on this planet is short. We have to give back to those in need.
Every child has a chance, no matter what obstacles they may encounter.
Never have we been taxed more as a society to help kids the way we are right now.
At Speedway Children's Charities,
our mission
is simple.
help every child we can.
Because all children
Deserve joy
And hope.
and love.
I'm PRN's Doug Turnbull, co-host of the 5 to Go podcast, a weekly deep dive into 5 motorsports issues. Devin Kupka gives the Gen Z view.
One thing that I've never seen before, when the cars got 4 wide, everybody stood up cheering.
And championship-winning mechanic Dan Elliott leans on his decades in the garage and promoting.
Unless everybody is aware of the rules, then no, it's not fair for everyone.
Listen to the 5 to Go podcast on GoPRN.com and subscribe on Apple and Spotify.
Been told all my life it's not far from the penthouse to the outhouse. Shane Van Gisbergen wins 3 out of 5 races. We go back to Dover. Shane Van Gisbergen completed 400 laps, but not a great day.
No.
He was out of it before it ever began.
He just pulled it. He was like, I can't.
Yeah,
I'm just
like, I can't drive
I'm
the race
just going to
car.
go to the back.
Yeah, and I guess they found that he did have a flat tire.
Oh, did he?
He had
Oh,
a flat,
okay.
he had a flat
Okay.
right front. They only had like 8 pounds in it. And but I will say this, in Shane's defense, when you're at Dover and something's wrong, it's terribly wrong.
Yeah.
It's like being at Bristol and something goes wrong. It goes wrong fast and it goes wrong hard. He did a really solid job of diagnosing it when they played some of the audio back and helping the team figure out that it was something mechanical.
All right, we got time to do this.
One last thing.
It's Kyle Petty's favorite segment.
This whole show's my favorite segment. You know that. All right.
What you got for one last thing?
So here's I'm gonna go to Dover yesterday, and I will say this. And I was listening this morning to NASCAR Talk Radio as I came in, and everybody's talking about how great the race was. It was not a great race. There were moments in the race that were great moments, and it was a solid race with a good finish. And I think what we saw was a Hall of Fame performance by Denny Hamlin under so much stress with everything that he has going on in his life. He rose to the occasion to get number 58. This is like watching when you watch guys go for that home run record, for that stolen base record. That's what we're watching. We are watching a march through history to see, because Denny Hamlin, I said it on here before, may be the last guy to 60.
Wow. I agree wholeheartedly. If you're at IMS this weekend, please do yourself a favor and go to their new museum. They have done a complete overhaul of it. It has fantastic features in it, some that my husband contributed to. Just if you can check it out, go check it out. The IMS Museum.
Go support Jordan Erickson's displays.
Please.
At the Indianapolis Museum. It's a cool deal. All right. For Kyle Petty, for Kent Bernhardt, David Stiles, Lexus Erickson, I'm Doug Rice. Back next week with a whole bunch more Fast Talk.
Fast Talk was presented by Toyota. For the latest Toyota Gazoo racing information, visit tgrna.com. And by Sunoco. From NASCAR to your car, Sunoco Fuel helps your car reach peak performance. This is PRN, the Performance Racing Network.